In the late 2020s, the earth was scorched by the Temu-Chenshian Wars. By the beginning of the 2030s, two names rose from the ashes of the Republic as leaders and educators in the lost art of reselling. The first was Primo Kimo, of course. The second name brings up feelings of the days of reseller glory and the hope of what it can once be again.
Bean.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Aloha, everybody.
Aloha!
I think we made it. We might be on the air. We have no idea. There could be 1,000 technical problems, but I think we've got it ironed out. And we'd like to welcome the illustrious judge of the program. And in the left corner, we have Pokey. Welcome, Josh. Thank you for coming on today.
No, thank you for having me. So I have to say, though,
Yeah.
I can only hear you. I can't see you, but
Okay.
that's okay. That's okay. But let's go. Let's bring it on. How have you been? How have you been? How have you both been?
We have been. We have an over under of 10 between Bearded and Carl, I think. So it depends. I'm not going to monitor myself, but I think there's going to be a lot of beans in the show. We are in general. We have been doing what we set out to do, which was after we had the abysmal May, we've built it back up in June. And as hitting July, hopefully you're asking about how our eBay business was.
Whatever you want, yeah.
Because our personal lives are just brilliant, and we just have fun, and we roll around in money all day. But as far as our eBay business, we are in the July slowdown thing, but we're feeling okay.
Right.
How about yourself?
Perfect.
Well, I've seen you've been posting you've had some good days.
I've had some good days, but I've had some horrible days as well. Okay. So tell me what you think about this. I'm just going to throw stuff out there. I came to this like weird epiphany that, and I stole this from Kevin. Do you ever watch Commonwealth Picker, either of you?
Yeah,
like
sure.
Once in a while?
Yeah.
So he said something which I really agree with. He said that business is about problem solving. So I was like, yeah, of course, that's obvious. Like, that's nothing new. But then I started really going down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, no, it is really, really super true. All day long, it's problems. Like, I got to find an item for the business. I got to figure out a way to present it to the customer. How do I title it? How do I take a photo so that it's really attractive to the customer? How do I pack it so that it's going to get there safely? All these things. How do I have the best customer experience? All these other things. So I thought, yes, it is problem solving all day long. And I was going to save this for the Power Hour or whatever it's called, but
it's the Primo Power Hour podcast.
It is the Primo and Spam Power Hour. But yeah, and I think great businesses, I don't know if we're going to go in this direction or not, but I think great businesses solve problems. So they'll solve a customer's problem, or they'll solve a problem that is out there that no one else has figured out yet. So I'm always kind of racking my brain, like, what problem can I solve to make my business better? Do you ever think, does that kind of stuff ever cross your mind? Do you ever think that way?
Well, so I will say that now it does. It definitely. Our whole lives changed last year, because when eBay decided to change was right when we decided to change. I mean, we changed from that super high ASP, hundreds and hundreds of dollars an item, and we sold very few items. And then and that's how we did it for decades. And then last year we're like, okay, so the COVID, well, it wasn't just last year, but when COVID ended her career for all intents and purposes, and we decided that she was not going back to work, we were going to then hit this pile of crap that I've been piling up forever and ever and ever. And this was going to be our life for the next 10 years. And what happened was eBay, it just changed everything last year. So
did.
I never thought about things rationally. I never thought of them as a business owner. I'm just throwing things out there. People are buying them. I'm, stacking up the dollars, so to speak. I mean, wasn't like making millions, but
I big time failed in my first business. Like, and I think I was pretty open about it, but it was like a colossal, almost spectacular failure. I'd started a construction company, and I think it was 2005 or 2006, and it didn't go well. But I also didn't have a business mindset, and I think that was, for me, was a big thing. And at the time when things went bad, because like if you lose a business, you know how awful that can be. Like sleepless nights, like collections, like all the crazy stuff that goes on as you dance around trying to figure things out. But I never really had a business mindset. I was like, I'm just going to do this because this is what I want to do. But it really killed me. So I spent in my career a good amount of time like, okay, I really have to be business focused. If I'm going to do this again, I really need to focus on how to be good at business. And it took me a long time. I don't think people are naturally wired.
To do business, not like out of the womb, not wired for it. It's a weird thing. Kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, or it's not like it's not how I conduct myself every single day. Like,
right.
Think about a restaurant, for example. You go to a restaurant, you're like, oh, it's nice atmosphere, good food. This was a lot of fun, and you go home. But when you have a business and you're in the business mindset all the time, you're like, how can they afford this? How can they afford that? How are they able to do this? I wonder how much money they pull in, and it changes your whole way of thinking.
And guess what? They don't pull in enough. People are charging them too much. We filed bankruptcy on our restaurant, and that was we had 45 people working there. It was one of the biggest restaurants in town. We bought the most rum out of anybody in the state. But mismanagement, and I was not a business person in that. When you say construction, though, to me, construction immediately says you have to know how much each stick costs because you can. And I had a friend, Josh, his business was J.G. Parker Built, which is funny. And he is a wealth advisor. He is like a premier wealth guy. He goes between West Palm Beach and Vermont. And he started right out of college with a construction business. And he ran it well, and he built some houses, and then he immediately got into buying apartment buildings. But you gotta have a rich guy in Miami to give you the money to do that. There's always a rich guy somewhere. Do you have a rich guy?
Someone there, yeah.
You need a rich guy.
Yeah.
So that might be the one thing that you don't have yet.
Well, I guess since we're digging up the past, I think for me it was, it was just a lot. So I had money coming and going, and I just had no idea. Like, it was just a lot coming and going. I wasn't on top of my books. A lot of employee turnover. So, you require a certain amount of skill to do the job. So you'd invest 2 or 3 weeks into the person, and they would just stop showing up.
Now that's managing problems. That's managing.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
but if you don't have a business mindset, so then that, you're just like kind of flying by the seat of your pants almost, which is what I was doing. It all comes back to me. I didn't have a business focus. I didn't see any of these problems until they happened, and everything kind of blindsided me. So the second time around, I'm much more hesitant and cautious. Like, even to hire an employee, there's so much liability. You really have to be prepared, to bring them on. Before I would hire anybody, I'd be like, yeah, come on, no problem.
Now that you have made that realization, though, do you find, like we do, that applying basic business principles to eBay is kind of like, you can apply some to eBay, but it's such a unknown. It's such an unknown quantity. Well, I would say that the way what we're selling.
Yeah, like very, very inconsistent and unknown. But I mean, Bridget, you were in retail for a long time, so you have like a really good handle probably on customer service, because people come in all the time and all this other stuff. But eBay's taught me a lot, even though if I apply these principles that I think I know, but I'm one of the worst eBay sellers out there, and I mean that. But if I apply the principles that I think I know, it doesn't necessarily give me a return on investment, like whatever I'm applying. But eBay's also taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about customer service, how to effectively run a business, how to get organized, inventory management, like you name it. That's all from eBay. I wouldn't have known any of that stuff.
Well, and what I think, what it appears to me that you're working on right now and have been working on is not something that comes quickly. And if I'm picking up the Josh Galt thing, it's knowledge is part of your, you're learning about stuff. You like history. These things are going to carry you into the last, hopefully not the last part of your life, but I look at mine that way. I'm like, the last, I'm done.
We're more than halfway.
Definitely more than halfway. And what do I want to do for that time? I want to know stuff. I want to just investigate. I want to lift things that aren't too heavy. I want to, really design that business. And I think that in general, that is a much, I think you're going to have a better experience in life when learning and making relationships and making business that way. It's just going to make you feel a whole lot better than trying to repetitive business digging more holes.
Well, if I may. Like, I don't have a ton of time left on this planet. I'm lucky if I'm halfway, but I'm probably more than halfway. And just being happy I was not happy. I was doing very well in my career, but I was super, super, super unhappy. And it affected the way I looked at everything, the way I, interacted with people. So I'm happy, but it's hard. This business isn't easy. It's much more difficult than you would think watching a handful of YouTube videos. But
there's also a passion. I connect very much with you because you have a passion for what you sell. Now, this is a big question for people because a smart businessman doesn't give a shoot about what they're selling. They sell stuff to make money.
Yes.
I don't have that. I'm so sorry, sweetie. You're just sitting there, and I haven't even heard you talk yet. But
I'm listening.
I just sit here, and I'm just like, let's take John, for instance. If I had to look one more day at the blue toilet seats, the orange ones are okay because they're selling, but the teal ones, I will Hulk smash the teal ones. Well, all I'm saying is I don't want to sell those. I would rather have something that I enjoy, even though it's not.
Yes. Well, okay.
Business.
Let me know what you think about this.
Yeah.
Are those two things mutually exclusive? Do you either have to be just selling things you hate and making lots of money, or you find a niche that you're passionate in, but you don't make any money? I think the two are possible.
Well, that's what we used to do. So we used to deal with mid-century modern furniture and make tons of money. So yes, absolutely true. But the game changed, or we didn't drop the ball. We intentionally stopped doing that because it was very high effort, very heavy trucks and people and driving and white glove delivery up and down the East Coast, which we got paid well for.
And now too, there is a lot more competition in the high end. Well, just in everything in general. It seems like everyone now is reselling either on the side or trying it out full time. So back then, I mean, people would contact us and say, "Hey, I have this product."
Bring stuff
we would
to
put
us.
ads on Craigslist,
and they'd bring us stuff for free.
We had the brick and mortar shop, and people would just swing on by with stuff.
That was cool. I like that.
But now it's definitely more cutthroat.
And it's just because the bricks and mortar store we had, we didn't sell anything out of it. It just was there.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what happened you're talking about furniture, so I don't know about mid-century as much as like some of the older stuff. And something happened at the end of the pandemic, and I can't give this stuff away. And it was commanding like thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars prior. Now, I see people breaking it down because the cost of storing it and the fact that it's not moving is so expensive. So
it is.
I don't know. The furniture market just collapsed somehow.
Well, and we've talked about. This is the first time we've ever spoke face to face, and I feel like we've had 100 conversations because we probably have. We just didn't know it. But the the thing about the like really the 1800s and 1900s antiques, I mean, I've always sat there saying they're gonna have a comeback at some point. But boy, did that mid-century modern stuff, tip of the top of the tip, worth money, keeps blowing up. Middle of the road stuff, you know, it's like down. And I don't think that's going to change.
Well, right, because now we're relying on younger generations, younger people to buy stuff. And right now they're not really into the antiques. And they're not completely into the mid-century modern stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like you know, our generation was. And
I remember like Bauhaus chairs, like, you know, like Weimar and then into Bauhaus. I remember those chairs, some of them would sell for like $10,000. Not that I ever sold any, but I remember going to a Bauhaus museum and seeing like all the pieces. And I'm like, it's kind of just a simple chair that maybe sits a little bit lower or a little bit weird, but the stuff was selling for so much. And looking it up on auctions now, they're having estimates of like $5,000 to $7,000 on these pieces, and they're selling for like $1,200.
Yeah, the Brower chairs, the metal tubes, and like, but these were all why they were worth so much before was not only the style, but what was behind it, the design, but also manufacturing, like business, and like there was a lot to them. The Eameses, when that stuff came out and hit the market, all that stuff is a little bit suppressed right now, except again for just the tip top items are through the roof still. So chairs that 10 years ago, 2014 is when I sort of, well, maybe 2016 is when I sort of stopped doing that for like in a professional way, where I bought at auction and sold. And at that point, we were already noticing that. But it seemed like we were on the cutting edge. We've always sort of been on my ideas. I'm a bad businessman because I have the best ideas 20 years before anybody else. And then by the time, you know, and then it's gone. So it's also a failure. I always remember somebody saying this: if you're too early on something as a businnesman, you also suck. So I sucked like 10 different directions, but you know.
Yeah, but also there's a lot to be said. As Bridget brought up, there people right now, and I get a lot of flack for saying this, but most people don't have a lot of disposable income. When I went to a friend's house yesterday, and I thought in my head, I wonder what the topic of conversation is going to be, and I'm not going to steer it anywhere, which is really hard for me to do because I'm like a blabbermouth. I just keep talking all the time. And of course, excuse me, it goes right away to people talking about how expensive things are, how their interest rates on their mortgage are killing them, how they couldn't sell their house even if they wanted to. So I think people don't feel comfortable. So they're not spending money as much. Some people are. San Francisco is very busy. And then combine that with a very saturated selling market. There are a lot of people doing this, as you mentioned.
For sure, yeah. And for those of us who are resellers, the big change was whatever they did to search last year. But so in Burlington, Vermont, which you wouldn't necessarily say is an epicenter of anything, our home prices shot through the roof during the pandemic and aren't going down. And it's just a function of housing availability or something. So some places, random, are okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think that is the same with like the Western New York area, because the prices have gone up here, but they haven't really come down. But when you look at like markets in San Francisco, New York, Miami, like the centers, even Austin to a certain degree, Dallas, it went up and then now it's come down. Whatever the reasons are. But Toronto's really bad. And also, this is just me venting now, but in Toronto or Canada, you have to renew your mortgage every 5 years. So everybody has to renew at higher rates. So I think, you know, Canada might be in a little bit of a different.
There's no 30 fixed in Canada? They don't offer that?
No.
Ew.
I know. I know.
Well, that's gross. But I mean, I guess
gotta love a challenge.
We also count our blessing, #blessed here, that we don't have to do that. That we 3.125 or something, very low. Well, it's low. But we haven't taken advantage of we haven't made one extra payment in 20 years at our house. So also horrible business people.
Well,
We'd be paid off now if we had made that extra payment, but
almost there.
Well,
close.
I just wanted to mention too how we've noticed over the past however many years that one by one the antique shops, we're talking, antiques, not
This is the
Yeah.
antique belt
vintage
here.
stuff, antique
really.
stuff, they've closed. And we used to
Yes.
have this, the straightaway.
Hey, everybody in the chat. Just
Route 7, which is, very long road.
it was an
in our
antique
state.
belt.
Yeah, it was the antique
In the
belt.
90s, there were literally dozens of shops between Burlington and Rutland, a 2-hour drive. And people came here from all over the U.S. just to make that drive
Yeah.
and buy stuff. And then it was in the 90s still, or maybe the early 2000s, the Texas big semi-trucks came up here from Texas, and they just went up and down the road and just backed the trucks literally, because the men were like 90. They were like, I'm done. And it's full of all these tools from the 1800s. I mean, probably good stuff but that stuff had been in these stores forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. I think there's a few things, if I can address that. First, because I've thought about this a lot. The first thing is the majority of the dealers that I deal with who have the coolest stuff in the region, Great Lakes region, the best stuff, the majority of them are over 70. So I think there comes a time where they're like, I don't really feel like doing this anymore. And I think that combined with, they used to rent these booths out, or maybe their buildings for like 150 a month, or 500 a month. But now that rents are getting to like 1,200, 1,500, and they're not moving it as quickly, and they're getting older, I think all that stuff, they're like, you know what, this might not be worth it. Yesterday, I went to a vendor. So he owns an antique mall, and they charge the vendors $100 a month and then 3% on the sales. So there's 10 vendors in this building, each $100 a month. That means the owner's only getting $1,000 a month plus 3% of the sale. That's not that much money for how big that building is. Like, does that even power like all your bills? Maybe
Yeah, just utilities and
electricity.
Insurance would be over that, I would imagine.
All that stuff, would be already over that. So are you operating at a loss, hoping that things get better? So I see that too. I see them slowly dropping off. Huge antique malls dropping off. People aren't buying the furniture. A lot of dealers saying, I wish I could get rid of these pieces that, like grandfather clocks, they used to be able to sell for $20,000. They can put $500 on the thing and it won't move.
Yeah, and they're made out of burled walnut, and George Washington carved it and the whole bit.
Well, I think
all handmade.
Yeah.
Beautiful pieces. And I think it does come down to, though, again, it's the generations. They're just not into that. The people that are coming up. I mean, a morbid thought, but us are in our age group, we're not totally thinking about buying tons of stuff now at our age.
Kind of want to get rid of it all.
Yeah. And we're the generation that probably would buy the stuff that people are now having a hard time selling. But
Yes.
But we're also now thinking about offloading stuff too.
Me no want anymore.
And like, we'll maybe collect the small things like old toys we had, but we're not into the larger pieces anymore. We're not even really into.
We're so large pieced out. I mean,
we already have enough of our own stuff.
No more space on the wall.
And I keep reading articles about younger generations that don't have as much, cash money available to just spend on things they want. Gen Z, they're just shopping more secondhand, but it's for stuff they need.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what they want, but
and then largely too, sorry to interrupt, but largely too, no connection to the past. Like when I grew up, we had a strong connection to the past, and you don't see that anymore. They don't really care. They're not as aware, and it doesn't really matter. So the flip side of that would be that you can get stuff at a better price. And mixed in, because people are getting rid of stuff like, hey, I need to get rid of all these antiques. You still have collectors that are young. You'll always have people interested in it. I don't have a huge amount of competition, but mind you, for everyone, it's very cutthroat, because for all the reasons you mentioned, this isn't like clothing where you're turning stuff quickly.
Right.
But sometimes when you buy these big lots, you can find a piece that's $1,500 or $2,500 or $4,500, or pieces of art and stuff that kind of get mixed into it. So there's opportunity there, but I would agree it's not it's not like toys, video games where you're moving stuff super quick, clothing.
And can you mix that? So then it just brought up two things that we wanted to actually say, which are in her notes there. She actually wanted to ask you about the idea of breaking off a piece of your store into so that you had your award-winning, your fully curated Josh Galt antique store,
Yeah.
which just has all your beautiful, beautiful items, and then everything else that isn't that. So that you have this feeling of curation, and it's been working for us. I can't say, we don't have enough information to give anybody true advice, but you should definitely listen to us and follow everything we say. And it definitely seems to be. I feel like I have some control over the situation when all of my media is in one store, all of my everything else is in one store, and all my best of the best is in one store. I can advertise or not advertise it because the stuff that's in the best store is getting every single item gets page views every single day. This is something I never looked at before, never even thought of before, but I'm able to curate that. Now, if something doesn't get any views in a week, maybe I move that to the other store. If something in the other store is getting a whole bunch of page views, I have moved it into my good store too.
So I think this is a good idea. And I think that a lot of other people are finding great success with it. And it is something that I've rolled around in my brain. I think what's preventing me, because like you said, I mean, someone might come in and be like, oh, wow, that carving or statue, like, I don't know, $5,000. That's incredible. And then they look at my other items and they see like a $10 VHS tape.
Yes.
That's probably worth like $3, right? But it's $10 and they're like, oh, so he's got a Jurassic Park VHS, and it kind of like softens whether or not they feel like they are actually getting a legit
might be
item.
just a neuron firing of thing, it's
Please.
a tiny thing, but
yeah. So I understand that, and I think what's holding me back primarily is just time. So right now I've got the store running exactly the way I want it. I have no death pile. It comes in, comes out. There's a whole process for everything. Everything is clean and neat, and I feel as though since I'm just me, every hour is accounted for from 5:30 in the morning until like 9:30 at night. So starting another store, moving things around, I need to take something else out of my day and make that a repeatable thing that I can do every single day. And I probably would benefit from it. I have this wholesale part of my business that's really encroaching and requiring a lot of my time as well. So I'm kind of in a balancing thing right now. Trying not to get overwhelmed, enjoy myself, do all these things. But it is, I think it's a good point, and I think it's probably a smart idea. I would even like to run 3
it may be
stores.
something to do in the future, like because maybe right now you don't want to mess with anything. You're like, everything's just working perfectly. Shush, don't say anything. and so then you don't want to mess with it. But if you do find yourself in that position, it's given me a couple of times, not that many times because I'm kind of over everything, but a couple of times I got this like fresh feeling about eBay. I was like, ooh, it's like, ooh, exciting. I get to, have my hands in my little stores and stuff.
I have to say, I mean, you and I don't talk about
Anything.
necessarily.
We never talk at home.
No, how we are feeling about these separate stores we have, but I 100% have just great feelings about having our separate stores now. I don't know what it is. It makes me feel more organized.
It does.
Everything so far is very positive. It's less overwhelming for me.
Has it made us more money technically? We can't totally tell because over the past 31 days it has. But we're in the middle of death, and I can already see the blue lines are going to start dropping off over here. Because we're over here now. That's backwards to you, but you know what I mean. The bars.
I think ideally I'd like to have 3 stores, like an antiques and art one, and then one for my photographs, and then the other one is just all this other stuff that I bought when. So, for example, because I catch heat from that, like VHS tapes and cassette tapes and all this other stuff. So these kind of buys would be when I first started. I'm not going to a thrift store buying like a VHS tape, but for example, I went to a flea market I spent $800. I got 4,000 CDs and cassette tapes. So that's all profitable and everything else, but it is. I see it in my store. I'm like, I don't do that anymore. I just kind of hope it just all sells, and then I can just move on and not put that stuff in my store anymore. So I think that's my thought process. But I would be better to just split it, and then
If it's sitting there decaying, if it's decaying, it may as well decay in a group of other decaying items. Which,
well, still though, I mean, my number 2 category is VHS tapes, and I haven't bought one in a year and a half.
now
My
that's
number
very
3 category,
that's surprising to me.
Yeah, my number 3 category is cassettes, and I haven't, or maybe it's number 4. I haven't bought a cassette in years either. So it still is moving and performing, and you know,
That's amazing. I'm surprised. What's your number 1 category?
it's in the antiques category.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you are focused in on that antique stuff. So again, I would say that maybe.
Yeah.
Someday.
Furniture though, I stay away from. And I think when people think antiques, they think of like rocking chairs and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But for me, it's more like tangible historical things you can hold in your hand and you can build some sort of connection with.
And there is some movement. I only have the same anecdotes I've had for about a year. There's some movement on early American antiques for the high-end first dibs crowd that does a lot of, you wouldn't call it necessarily mid-century modern anymore. It's designer stuff. It's design stuff. They are buying Williamsburg. They are buying, nice examples of that kind of stuff. Inlaid wood.
Yeah, well, uranium glass is a good example. Like,
why
uranium
is that
glass
popped back up? I don't know why.
It was everywhere. Like you couldn't go into a thrift store without seeing it lying around, and then all of a sudden it went from like selling on eBay for like $10 a piece to like $100 a piece and $80 and all this other stuff. So
I don't know,
everybody crowded in and they're all looking for it now. But yeah, it ebbs and flows. Certainly, I can't find it anymore for a decent price. The price went up and I can't get in anymore. It's like all my stuff sold and that's it.
We just saw the other day, we went into a little lady. In Vermont, you have a lot of these like little garages, just like with overhead doors, roll-up doors. I don't know whose they are, but they're on a piece of land, and they're always filled with antique. These places still exist around here. And we just went there, and the lady's got all of her stuff all nicely. It looks like a little flea market. She's got her uranium glass right up front, all perfectly marked. It's like $40 for a glass and a bowl and all these things.
Yeah.
Now over here on the wall is over there. Which way? Over there on the wall is a picture from Sears that's in my tiki kind of area. It's $35. It's worth $300. She doesn't know, but she knows her uranium glass. And she was happy with the money that we gave her. But at the same time, interesting how people get, and I see Sonny, Las Vegas is just like down with the uranium glass.
Yeah, I don't. So if you look at his store, he doesn't sell a ton of it. So he looks like he's really into curating. So he's like all over Vegas an entire day, and he'll pick up like 5 or 6 pieces, but they're like spectacular. I have a hard time. A glass I was doing great with. That was like me 8 months ago when I talked to Sonny. I was finding glass everywhere. Swung vases, depression glass, like all this great stuff. And now,
is that our fault?
Never see it.
Is that our fault for blabbing everywhere?
It's your fault for blabbing it on this episode today. You ruined the market. It's never coming back.
Glass. No. But it did seem to come out of nowhere. It's like, because, when you talk about glass insulators, these things in the 80s were hot. Vaseline glass is one of them. And then it went away to nothing, and then all of a sudden it came back up. Can we do this to Hummels?
Yeah.
Can we do this to Hummel figurines?
I saw somebody did an interesting thing in talking about uranium glass where they were putting black light bulbs in their fridge. So then when you would open the fridge, you'd have all this stuff. It would all be glowing with your food in it. I don't know how appetizing that is, but I was like, that's a really cool idea.
It is interesting.
And if you have an influencer or a few of them that do that, that's like millions of views, and all of a sudden it's hot and there's a very limited supply. So
I guess that's the kind of thing that does happen. I know that I know one person, I don't really want to just bring up his name, but I did hear on multiple different things, including VCRs, that he created and broke the markets, like in a
Oh,
concentrated effort. He sold so many like VCR things that then the VCRs crashed.
he was responsible for creating and destroying,
Yes.
like an eBay god,
Yes. He came in and he's just like, "I make
eBay
you?"
deity or deity. Yeah.
This is I assume this can happen. I mean, maybe. I've done none of this.
Why, indirectly, this is why I say I'm one of the stupidest YouTubers or eBayers, because I'm confident in my processes for me, or processes, however you want to say it. I'm confident in those processes for me, in the way my business runs for me, but I know it doesn't work for everyone. And I have made so many darn mistakes as I've kind of figured out what's working and what doesn't, that I don't think I could ever confidently come on here and say, this is what you need to do to increase your sales, or this is what you need to make eBay work, or how to make $100,000 a year. As I do this more and more, the more and more I realize that the stuff I'm doing is probably not repeatable for a lot of other people for a lot of different reasons. Like, I live in a different area. I have different connections. I have different life experiences and different knowledge. Like, I don't know anything about video games. You could show me video games, I wouldn't know what's good and what's not because I've never played them. Barring like the 2600, and it's like 20 or 30 years ago. But so I don't feel confident. So the people that are out there that are really like this person you might be talking about, that are confident that they are creating markets, destroying markets, they know how to teach people and everything else. I don't feel confident at all that I know what I'm doing.
Me neither. I really don't. And I really appreciate when you've always said that you almost you get a sense of you appreciate the fact that when you do make a mistake, that you have felt that mistake, acknowledged that mistake, learned from that mistake, and not like mistakes are the best thing in the world, but at the same time, they teach you more than somebody who is, well, he's not this particular person. Okay, here's an interesting thing. I'm just going to say this because it's weird and it just is interesting to me. I have a friend named Jason T. Smith. He is America's #1 thrifter. He's been around for decades in the eBay YouTube space. He's done, sort of. He was back on last Sunday. His channel didn't grow that much. I think he just got frustrated with the whole thing because he'd been around for so long. And I think people were just kind of used to him. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But Chris Lynn went to him to find out what he knew about doing eBay and YouTube together. Like, I want to be a YouTuber, and I want to know what to do to be a YouTuber. eBay seems like a good thing. I'm going to go talk to this guy, Jason T. Smith, who knows all about it. And then this new guy goes to the middle guy and says, I want to learn how to do what you're doing, who learned it from this other guy. Anyway, the point is that maybe what they've learned is how to be eBay YouTubers. Not necessarily how to be great eBayers. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. So without, like, I'm not going to say much. I have history with Chris, but I won't say any of that. But now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, so, okay, here it is. We're back.
We're back. Nice. I haven't used any sound effects or anything. I'm so into our conversation. That's number 3.
That's for bearded.
So the processes and the way that Chris Lynn and those guys did eBay has changed, and their message has changed. So when they were really, you got to remember, Chris from 2017 to 2019 wasn't doing excellent on eBay. That's him saying that, not me. It was okay. Then when everything got shut down, boom, everyone's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what you buy. Buy mall brand stuff like Old Navy, and you can sell it. You just need to have bulletproof processes, and you can just pump this stuff up. Everything sells. Everything sells. That message has changed to now you hear more people talking about high STR, don't put garbage in your store, all this other stuff, which I agree with. So he really blew up at the right time, and a lot of those guys blew up at the right time. When they felt the temperature of the water change a little bit, the message started changing. Not necessarily him, but a lot of the other ones, they changed their message to higher STR, better items, It's easy to find
It's
great
your
things.
items. Yeah.
It's your items. Yeah, you hear that all the time. It's your items. It's your items. So, um, yeah. So that's what I think as far as that's concerned.
But if you do happen to go to the thrift store, it is shocking the number of remote controls, digital cameras, and massagers. You can find them. They
But
are
you
there.
know, most of the stuff is garbage.
Yeah.
So, if you were, not, let's say everybody in this room has been doing this a long time, let's say, or they pretty much know what they're doing. We all know, everyone in the chat here and us, when you go to the thrift stores, maybe not the bins, you're walking out with, these days, 5 pieces. It's garbage.
At most.
The remotes are garbage. They're not worth a lot. All these things, a lot of it is garbage because they're checking it a lot of times before it goes out. And if it's good, they're putting it behind glass.
They've got people now. They've got people in the back, special sections of people checking.
So Savers, for example. Savers has something called a central processing location. And when you donate to Savers, they put it in a truck, they send it to the central processing location where they sort it all out. And then they have their own third-party sellers and liquidators that move good stuff. Then they bring the stuff back to the thrift stores, and then up it goes. Or in the store it goes. And that's why when you go there, when it's Halloween, you're getting all the Halloween stuff in the store. Or when it's Christmas, all the Christmas stuff is showing up. And why in winter you don't see many baseball caps. So they're already, now, it wasn't like this before, but now if you go to a thrift store, you have to, first you have the processors looking through it. So it has to go through them and slip by. Then the people at the back of the store that sort it again to put it behind the glass, it's got to slip by again. And then you got to beat out all your competition in the store that's, lining up in the morning trying to find the stuff. So good stuff, I used to be able to go to the thrift store and get a cart full, no problem. $200 or $300 worth of stuff every single day. Not anymore. But if you watch the videos they do, it's still that old thing of I went to the thrift store, I found all these great things, and easy. Yeah, it's easy for me and everything else. Exactly. But most people in here are not stupid. They know that's not what it's like now. My opinion.
No, I mean, and that's very much true. I mean, back about 10 years ago, I was going into our thrift store. Now, first of all, not all of them, but our thrift stores tend to be more independent here, either church related or nonprofit related. Although we do have Goodwill and we do have Resource, the other resource that's done by the national group, but we have local ones. And I would walk in there for $15 with a $1,500 piece of furniture. This did used to happen like that.
Yeah.
And those days are long gone, and we're now sort of to the repeatable thing. So this is the interesting part to me is, what was that?
Oh, that was me. I was going to say, I was going to add something too.
Yeah, please.
Along with
my voice is sore from
all these people that this product is going through all these hands, and more people to pull it aside or.
Remember when we used to do it at the back door?
Well, I was just going to say, there are stores, some of these secondhand thrift stores, that have employees that pull the product aside for somebody they have in mind.
We still do that.
Or themselves. Like, how many times have I gone into a thrift store and I see someone who I would probably is a minimum wage worker wearing like a 1993 Easy E shirt or like a 1977 Iron Maiden shirt, like the Raglan style. And I'm like, that's an original shirt. It's single stitch. Like, there's no way they're buying them on eBay with their entire paycheck for $1,200. Right.
Now, are you offering them $50, and do you carry around blank T-shirts to change them out for them? Like, here's $50, here's a T-shirt, give me that.
I think that, I've got so much to say now. Now my throat is getting sore. I think what they do is they put it off to the side, they put the $4.99 tag on it, and then they buy it themselves because they can buy a product in the store as well. So I think that happens. And I was looking for uranium glass, and I brought some stuff up. And I told the store manager, I said, I forgot my black light, so I don't know if this stuff glows or not. He's like, oh, no. Trust me, it doesn't. If it did, we would have caught it already. So definitely. So I'm reliant on my dealer network. That's where I get my stuff. the pros of that is you're getting great stuff. Like I can find really, really cool, awesome, amazing stuff, but it's not cheap. And that becomes very difficult too, where you're sinking. Like I just did a $1,700 buy this week. I don't know how long it's going to take to pay that off. It could be like 4 months or 3 months or something. So that's difficult, but that's kind of the genre I'm in. One more thing.
That's not something you will, as a business. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think of how you would keep track of all the information and saying that you want to really have a handle on your business. But that's one of the things that we can't guess. You don't know how long it's going to take to get that money back.
You don't know how long it's going to take, but historically, like once you have knowledge and you're like, okay, this stuff is going to sell. Like Civil War stuff is going to sell, but you got to wait for the collector to show up. And maybe they won't buy it until they start doing their reenactments in the summer or something. Like, I don't know, right? So the timeline on that is you're just kind of waiting for your buyer. I wanted to circle back, though, to the thrift stores. You were talking about the mom and pop thrift stores.
Yeah.
The smaller ones. Even those, when you walk in, every time without fail, they've got a laptop open and they're either checking prices on eBay or they're listing stuff on eBay. So the stuff in the store is largely their blowout stuff, unless you have a honey hole.
Well, we have places, we still have enough, I don't know what you call it. We have people that do not understand computers here in Vermont, and they still sell antiques. Like the lady I was speaking of who had the Vaseline glass. I don't think she's getting her numbers online.
Well, she figured out how to use Craigslist to post her sale.
And she was like, "Did I do a good job?" Yeah, she's like, "Did I do a good job? I put in all 24 pictures," and we're like, "You did a great job." But that's their first time using Craigslist. So.
Well, I'm thinking too that sometimes these mom and pop stores, like you said, they're listing on eBay, sort of how some of us use eBay and Facebook Marketplace for the heavier things. You don't want to bother with eBay for shipping, so maybe these stores are selling it in their shop.
So they're pricing,
and then selling the smaller things on eBay.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you're a thrift store, you're still a business, and I know there are people that don't really know how to use the computer and everything else. I know that exists out there. It's becoming less and less.
It is, yeah.
But when you get put on blast on YouTube because you let a $1,500 item go out the door for $1.50, and you see this over and over and over again, you start becoming more cautious because everybody has a rent to pay or a mortgage to pay at the end of the month. So I think that now things are looked over a little bit better. It just makes it that much harder to find these great items.
It's a natural progression. You have to do that.
It is. And when I first started, I could find Nintendo, NES games, Nintendo 64. It didn't really matter. Every video game was $2.99. And you could go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is in 2018 and 2019. You could go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the games would still be there. It was just people like collectors. This whole like crazy reselling YouTube thing was not huge as far as I understand back then, because I could find great stuff at any time in the day.
It was definitely the pandemic. I mean, it not only did were people at home to like learn some more stuff about this, but the whole PSA thing where everyone was sending everything and every investor on the planet was like, I'm going to get Spider-Man #1. So they got it and now it's not worth as much.
Yeah.
Too bad for them. I need to do one horn for everybody. Just people are requesting.
Bearded, this has been serious way too long. Bring on the mayhem.
No, this is advanced conversation with Josh GALT. We don't have time for any rudimentary conversations. But I think, these are a lot of questions I always wanted to ask you and just see, like, because I can tell one-sidedly, kind of try to read your vibes, but, that's as good as it gets. But and I really think that our job here, that being work chums as we are, really is what has given, watching you over the last year or so has given us some connectivity to the insanity that our lives became after last year. So you've provided us a little bit of that anchor. And I went back and I was trying to find the video, like what was the first video that we ever watched of yours, and I couldn't figure out which one it was, but I did see one by ADH Dave where he was leaving his good job, and I know that I had just been watching yours because you had left your job, and he's like, I'm going to leave my job, and he's like, yay. And he's like, I have my 90-day total on eBay is $12,000 for 90 days. And I'm going to build it up to $20,000. And I looked, so this was like maybe June of last year. I looked down at my phone, $24,000 in the past 90 days. And I was like, sucker, why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. You're so dumb, Dave.
Yeah.
1 year later,
I don't know.
12,000.
I don't know Dave that well or at all. Like, I don't think he knows me either. I've never spoken to him. But I think he's got a really good social media skill and presence. Like, he seems very tech oriented. So his videos are very well edited, very clean. And I don't know what other platforms he sells on, but
Whatnot. He does the Whatnot.
Yeah. I think it's also sometimes it's just a matter of you're like, I'm so miserable, and you don't always see that on the camera, but like, I'm so miserable and I hate my job so much, which that's where I was, because for me, the commute was an hour and a half in and 3 hours back. Oh. It was just like, it was killing me. It was killing me. So I think people just want to build something that they love and enjoy.
And once you get here, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much it sucks, it's really hard to ever go back. I know that.
It is,
fact.
yeah.
I don't think I'd ever be good.
But I've gained an appreciation as well for every business out there. So, you know,
sure.
when I used to, when I was, you know, in my 30s, early 30s or whatever, or even 20s, I'd walk into the store and I'm like, this store sucks. And I'd leave. But now I'm like, I appreciate these people. This is very well presented. And, you know, these aren't items that I would buy, but you know, this is hard. It's not easy. And they're doing their best. So I have a whole new appreciation for every business and how it operates and functions.
And the insane effort created just to put on this thing right here. How it takes us 2 hours to set it up in the morning. Nobody appreciates that. I'm not asking for any appreciation on that.
No.
I'm just saying it's all there. And if you go to work, when you go to work and you chink chink, you punch that clock, how much time and effort into the systems and organization did somebody put that in there so you can just bloop bloop?
Sure. And the stuff that people don't see. So for me to pull my items, not me tooting my own horn, but to pull items in the morning to get them shipped out, there's thousands of dollars invested in racking. There's these like not complex, but these advanced, I consider them advanced inventory systems that I didn't have before, and overhauling it and then losing all this money and time, pushing it into this and that and everything else. No one's going to see that, but that's okay, because if you're entertaining on YouTube, you just want to entertain people and make sure that they leave like feeling like they've either learned something or they had a good time or they, you know, whatever brings them. And then your customers, you just want them to have a seamless, good experience. And that's it. They don't need to know everything.
I want everyone
else.
I touch to leave with a smile. That's all I want. I'm actually not kidding when it comes to eBay. It's like when I want people to open up my packages. I've said this a million times, but I want people to not go, anything goes, you suck. Or like not even lead down the road of you suck. It's like, this guy tried hard. Maybe that's what I'm trying to
do you I got a question for you. Are you able to fix any of these electronics?
Yeah.
That you sell?
I have to. Yeah.
Oh, did you want to mention how you're a member now?
No.
Oh.
I don't want. Oh yeah, I do. I don't want to mention that somebody returned something today.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
But I do want to mention, yes. As a matter of fact, great question, very timely, because I applied and was approved to the eBay Refurbish program, so that I can now sell things with. So I have to look into it because there's a couple of stipulations and everything. But there's a break between brand refurbished. So I can't sell things as what's something that you refurbish? Keurig. I can't sell a Keurig refurbished, but I can sell excellent refurbished. So and I have to sell it without it has to be free shipping. I have to have free returns 30 days.
Which we already do.
But what they do is they provide insurance. eBay provides insurance on the item. So I sell it as refurbished by me, the seller, excellent condition, and now eBay, I think, handles everything. The only thing I haven't checked out is, could they give me a negative feedback? So let's say I, just to test the process, I sent them a rock in the box or something, just something to test it. And would would they be able to leave me a negative feedback? I don't think so, but I have to double check that.
The reason why I ask is I don't know if this market is like this anymore because I haven't really been in it for over a year. But I remember, do you know the formats for like all the weird formats that never really took off, like cart revision and V-Chord and CED video disc?
Sure, I sell CEDs. Yeah.
We've told that
They'll-
story.
Those players broken you can buy for next to nothing, but fixed, like especially V-Chord, fixed those things go for such crazy prices. And I remember getting these things and I'm like, I'm going to start fixing these chipboards. And you open it up, and it's like it's like a Boeing engine or a Rolls-Royce engine. You're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So
green and black things.
Yeah, look, cylinders on chipboards,
right.
like belts and bands and all this crazy
I can
stuff.
do that. I can do that up to a certain extent. So I can do capacitors. In fact, we were just talking about that, how I can go in there and on the power supply unit. So the PSU on any electronic, it's going to have a power supply somewhere in there. Usually that's where you just replace a dozen capacitors. You can almost fix anything.
Those are the black little cylinders?
The blue or black with a stripe on it or something.
They leak, right?
Yes, they leak. And they're not poisonous. They don't hurt you or anything, but they do make things not work right. So once you replace those, generally speaking, it's just a plus and minus. So it's just two connections. So if you get a little skill on there, removing the solder and replacing these, make sure you got them in the right direction. It's all it is. So we do that. We do.
You do.
We do that. And then I have to do all of my gaming systems, of which I have maybe close to 100-ish, like between all the Nintendos, Ataris, ColecoVisions, Intellivisions, all those things. Those all get a little chip in them for better video. And often those chips will have a little bypass that will fix some of the quirkier problems with them.
Like, there are so many people out there that have these machines, and myself was one of them included. They don't know how to fix them. I actually think that in itself is something. They're just so expensive to ship back and forth. But I had this Betamax machine or Betachord machine. It was one of the first Betachord machines ever come out.
So you're like Sharp made it or Sanyo made it, right? So it wasn't
yeah,
Sony.
I think
because they had a legal fight about it.
It was the one where it popped up and then you could pop it back down. But maybe it was a Toshiba.
Top loader.
It wasn't Toshiba because I think they were doing V-Chord and then they got taken over by Beta or whatever in VHS. But anyway, top loader machine, I loved it. It was all like the faux wood paneling and everything else. I sent it to someone to get it fixed, charged me a fortune, couldn't fix it. And all he says he knew how to do was fix the bands. This place was packed, filled with electronics, filled with stuff he needed to fix. So,
well, the only problem with that, Josh, I'll just tell you right now, is there's a pile of it right there. This is a pile I've accumulated over 25 years of I don't want to do that, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if I talk to myself and have a private conversation with myself, I don't want to do that. But can I do it? Yes. Are we going to do it? Yes. What you looking at?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's a business thing too. Like, who knows?
It's worth tons of money. It's worth tons of money, but it's a wow, it is storming here right now. It's just a matter of bandwidth, kind of, because I do have thank you for this is my bandwidth being added up. So unfortunately my ADHD variety consumes enough of the bandwidth that you have to use an adding machine to add it. So to stay on task,
This is where you win when you love your category because like you love this stuff.
It's so the only way I can do it.
It's kind of fun. But
it's
you like
the only way I
electronics,
can
so
do
you know a lot of. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't be doing it still 20 years later, right?
The answer is absolutely yes to that because I would probably if I wasn't. I taught myself a very, very so I have ADHD from like 5th grade, and I have had special classes and teachers in the back of the room, and I sort of isolated from other people. Had some social issues, but I tried really hard. I tried to go to college and really get that under my belt, but never could because I have the issues. But one thing I did learn was if I can make money, none of this matters. It's like if I can fill my bank, if I can pay my way, if I can be an independent person, It doesn't really matter if I'm crazy or ADHD or anything else.
Well,
So I started buying cars like when I was 16.
You always are willing to give something a shot. You're not afraid to try.
I'm too stupid
these
to be
things.
afraid.
I
That's
mean,
true.
you're like,
yes.
I want to open a tiki bar. I want to open a
I'm-
restaurant. Okay, he goes and does it.
Ignorance is one of my superpowers.
I'm
I
going
could just
to-
not let myself know the truth.
I'm going to have a collection of arcade games. 300 arcade games later and broken backs later. You know, I'm going to buy
Thousands,
vintage
actually.
Apple computers. Thousands and thousands of pounds, pallets worth of vintage. It's crazy. What this guy dreams of, he makes it happen.
So I wasn't always late to the party. So sometimes I was on time. With the arcades and pinball machines, with the old computers, I was super early and got it all for free. That was
But I think too, there are a lot of people that don't have that vision at all. When you build something and you get it to where you want it to be, they never even saw it until it arrived. And they're like, how did you do this? Yeah. So I think that in itself is a skill. And like even the tiki restaurant, you probably learned a lot from it. There are people
never do that again. I learned that.
But they had their, this is what screws me up because I do this in my own business. But there are people who met like their true love for the first time at that bar or proposed at that place or, had the best meal of their life, and they will carry these memories for the rest of their life. So it's important. It is important. And if you don't
now the number one biggest restaurant theme going on the planet right now is tiki. So almost everything, new restaurants coming up, 50-50 chance it's going to be a tiki bar. So
I went to one in Hamilton. I had a great time. I didn't even know about it until I was there, and I'm like, this is so much fun. This is a whole experience. It's great.
People like to escape, a little escapism. I see
nice.
bearded pickers picking on my short bus experience. No, I think I got off the bus. Nelson, the bus driver, would always say, "Sit back, sit down, sit back, be quiet, carrot top." So I just got off the bus. I was walking. Oh, damn Nelson.
What gets me into trouble with my business sometimes is I really enjoy the research. So I'll have an item that really requires a lot of research, and I'll spend like 4 or 5 hours trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what is this?
Yeah, that sounds.
And it's not like a Google Lens thing where you can just reverse image search it. It's like really, it's a document or a signature or something like that where you're like, okay, what is this document? You spend 4 or 5 hours, and to me it's important because I feel like historically this is an important item and it needs to be preserved and we need to figure out what it is. And then spend all that time and it's like $12.99. That's a bad business decision.
And then somebody buys it and sells it for $1,200.
Yeah, I think they sold for $1,200. Yeah, exactly.
He gets on my case and he's drawn the line. He's like, no more. You just photograph and get the draft started, because I will sit there trying to see how much something is worth, looking it up.
And all I'm saying is that I'm just faster at it now. So if you've been doing this for 4 years and it takes you 5 hours, it takes me 3 hours. Maybe I can get as much information in 3 hours. That's the only difference. I still get lost down that trail, and I need to know, and I want to know.
So for me, it's like someone will sign something and the town will change. It'll say the town and it will change. So you're like, for my research, a lot of times I'm like on Find a Grave, I'm on Google Maps, I'm trying to figure this stuff out, and it's just like, you can go down these deep, deep rabbit holes, and it's super satisfying and fun when you finally figure it out. But, it's business practice. I should just be like pumping stuff up, but
that's it, Josh. I mean, we're not just doing business. That's not it. This is a lifestyle. This is a reseller lifestyle, I think, personally.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know. We sit here and we're like, reselling sucks, but I love it so much. Now, does John and Bearded say that? Did they say did they have that conflict?
Yes. So I mean, they're two very different people, and I consider myself really good friends with both of them. They're just really great salt of the earth people. From what I gather with Beard, he likes to travel around. He likes to go to these little towns and like go into the businesses, scan things, talk to the people there. Like, he really enjoys just traveling the country and experiencing new things.
That's awesome.
These little towns, and then just meeting people and talking to them and their situation. So he really enjoys that. And his Amazon model works really well for that, and that really makes him happy. John, he is more focused on opportunities that have turned up in his area, and then he's kind of become like an expert in the sort of logistics of that. So John is very, I consider him extroverted. So he's like very friendly and outgoing, and he can make those kind of connections, and with liquidation and stuff, he really enjoys it. For him, it's not so much about the product. It's more building those relationships and everything else, and it's done really well for him. And what he does is not, unless you are living near him and you have his personality, it would be very difficult to replicate what he does.
Right.
With Beard, I hate driving. I don't like it. I mean, if it's 2 hours away, I'd rather fly. I hate driving. They did it so much. Seriously, I
drove helicopter. Where's your helicopter?
Exactly. I hate it. I really hate it. So that to me, I wouldn't enjoy it because I'm in this car all the time and I can't stand it. So again, unless you're built like him with multiple personality traits and things that you enjoy, you just can't replicate it. And then they look at me and they're like, you just go to these like kind of stale shops and you're picking through all this stuff for hours. And I'd be standing out there if I were you, Josh, and I'd be like, or if I was with you, being like, I can't stand it. This guy is just like picking up everything, touching everything.
But you're like, 4 hours have gone by. I need to do more.
Where did the time go? I'm having the time of my life. Look at this little Bakelite figurine from the 1930s. Isn't it incredible? And they're like, God, get me out of here. So unless you're built like that, you can't replicate that. You can try, and for me, that's clothing. So when I see people do clothing and shoes and stuff, nothing I hate more than buying a shirt from the thrift store and like where the belly is, seeing a little white stain. Oh. I know what that is, or back hair on the inside, right? I don't want to put that in my washing machine. I don't want to clean that.
No, that is
viscerally, like even now I'm gagging, but there are some people like, oh, it's no big deal, wash it, and it's worth a lot of money. And I love clothing.
I have the exact I have a similar disgust for clothing. It's the smell of a dusty smell when you're going through the racks. You're smelling this dust, and that's what gets me. Because I'm like, I need to protect my beautiful lungs for some reason.
I can't turn it off. I see people sometimes that disgust me, and I know that
they wear clothes. They wear clothes.
Right.
Obviously, they're going to be right that I'm picking.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I can't do it.
But there are people,
buy a separate
I see it. They feel the clothes, and they're like, "This is this like linen, or it's lightweight," and they have the passion. They should do that. People feel the same way about shoes, where they're just like blown away by shoes, and they can look at them all day long. That's where they should be.
I said just one time to Tommy Bernard podcast that because he sells sneakers, and I was like, but there's poo on shoes because shoes are on the ground where the poo is, and then he never showed up again. I do apologize to you, Tommy. I didn't mean that. Well, but I'm just like I just think that in my brain.
Me too. And so you go to a bar or something. As a guy, I don't know if girls have this, but you go to the urinals.
Don't ever.
And you have to spread your feet out like 4 feet apart because of what's on the floor.
And it's like mud. It's yellow and mud.
Yeah, but some people are like nurses' shoes. These are great for nurses. Well, they're walking around in the hospital all the time, all sorts of fluids and everything else.
Yeah.
It's all okay if you enjoy it and that doesn't bother you. It's all okay because there are people that I've heard it a million times. How can you spend all that time getting this dusty old stuff that maybe will sell and maybe won't? But I love it. So that's where
to be honest with you, though, Josh, the dusty old stuff that we collect is covered with mouse crap. So it's not like our stuff is clean. It's just our kind of dirty. That's all.
Exactly. Exactly. I've done entire storage lockers, and it was like mouse poop throughout the entire thing.
Just wipe it off.
I had to throw it all out.
I remember
with
that.
My bare hands.
Now that's gross. Wear gloves. But you do, and maybe a mask because the hantavirus. But I do think that the love of this reselling game is the most amazing thing. We just talked about 3 or 4 people, if you include all of us, who do this differently.
Yeah.
But to feel good about life, about what we're doing. So this is, I mean, it's still one of the most amazing opportunities and lifestyles going.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to be a rock star, but you don't want to be a rock star because of all the work that you have to do to be a rock star or to do anything really that's of any value.
Let's say you're a clothing seller. Maybe your personality is more introverted, so you just want to go to the bins, get all your clothes, go back, sit and list and everything else, and you like clothes, and that's the thing. For someone who's very extroverted, that would be very difficult because, you know, I I don't know. I think I'm extroverted. Sometimes I call myself introverted. I don't really know what I am, but I love going out there making deals and talking to these dealers and like arguing with them and then figuring things out with them. And all. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And you learn a lot from these people, and they have great connections. So I really enjoy that part. But some people might not. They might be very hesitant to approach people. So
there are
we all
people
have
out
to
there
kind of find
that do not negotiate. There are people out there. I have friends, close friends of ours, who do not know how to dicker. They don't. You don't dicker.
I'm dealing with a different crowd of people. So the people I'm dealing with largely now with the dealers, they know what it's worth. So they're
But if you
already
make a pile, do you make a pile type? Do you dicker?
Sometimes I make a pile,
okay.
But they're generally like, okay, I know what this is worth. I know you sell on eBay. I know how long it takes for things to sell. So they're generally like marking it to a point. So, they'll say 500 maybe. I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do that, but if it's fair, I'll just pay it because I need them still.
Yeah.
They are this network I'm fully dependent on them for bringing me more cool, great, amazing stuff. So
I guess one-on-one, I'm definitely a negotiation person. If I'm but if I'm at like a flea market or if I'm anywhere where there's other people around with wallets, I tend to pay just whatever the number is in that particular case. But if I'm one-on-one with somebody, I talk for an hour, and then I'm not saying that I'm talking to lube them up or something. I'm just saying let's see if we can get some good feelings about each other, and that might lower my price.
Well, I know too. When we had you had the shop, he had people come in with stuff that maybe he wasn't necessarily that interested in, but he would just buy it from them just so they would come back with the next item that could be the most cool thing in the world. We didn't want them to go, oh, I'm not going back, so I'll just buy it.
Do people call you? Do you have any ads out there for people to call you?
I put my card out everywhere. Everywhere I go, I put my card out. I'm very proud of what I do, so I'm happy to give it to absolutely everyone.
Do you put it on Craigslist and put a nice, colorful ad saying, I'm buying these kind of items?
No. So I do it to dealers, and sometimes they're like, hey, I know this guy who's getting rid of this stuff. I can't go up there if you want to meet him. And then I'll go out, I'll hand out my card. And it's enough right now that it's all I can handle.
Okay.
But I have had it before where a dealer's called me. He's like, look, I got a bad one. But I can't clean it out. It needs to be done. Can you do this one for me? And then, okay. And then you show up and it's like a storage locker and the roof is leaked and he's got a bin there for you. And you're like, well, almost everything's going in the garbage. I'm basically wasting the entire day cleaning out garbage for someone else. The hope of finding. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, you go back and you talk to this guy and he's like, hey, you want to split with me on this or that? So it's really important, I think, to maintain those relationships. And I don't want to come across as cheap. Yeah, where they're like, I'm going to call this guy second because he's trying to save $50, even though I'm buying something off him for $500 and selling it for $5,000 or something. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I have relied on being quirky. I think I'm quirky enough where when I don't know if it's being people are just not necessarily know what to make of me all the time. But because I generally speaking, I made many a purchase riding up in a Rolls Royce. I mean, I would just drive up in a Rolls Royce, which you would think would set people to think.
No, but that's a brand too.
I branded. I was a little brandy. Yeah, I would say that's true.
That's a brand.
and so I got lots and lots and lots of good deals. I do not that whole time has ended now. We do not get good deals so
Yeah.
much anymore. But I think you do have to look for the old guys with the warehouses and make relationships, maybe have some coffee, maybe bring them a donut now and then. And so
Well,
when it's time for them to cash out, they might call you.
I got a bunch of like really kind of cool old photos here and postcards. But like if you look at this one, it's like Siamese twins, like circus Siamese twins. But it's an original one. So a dealer will, let's say I bought 100 of those. The dealer will that I'm buying from is like scouring all these obscure auctions and in-person auctions and everything else, and he's picking this stuff up at a half decent price. And if he sells it to me for $1,000, let's say, and I know I can sell it for 3,000, to me it's worth it paying him the $1,000 rather than nickel and diming or spending hours and days and weeks trying to find it myself. So as long as, and this is a whole other topic for another day, but as long as the stuff is being seen on eBay, it will sell. And I'm willing to, I almost consider them employees where they're hunting this stuff down and I can buy it from them reliably. So they have a reliable person to sell to. I have a reliable person to buy from, and then I can put it online, which they don't want to do for whatever reason.
Yep, that's your place in the line.
Food chain?
Yeah, exactly, in the food chain.
Yeah.
Although that has, I felt like that's kind of dried up a little bit in the sense that maybe you have it more up there, but just the pickers tend to be less pickers, more eBay sellers. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of them, I have a lot of dealers that I know that are not on eBay for a number of reasons. One guy sold a Rolex watch for $30,000 way back when. The buyer complained. They held his money. He lost the case, had to get a lawsuit and everything else. That guy will never go back to eBay ever again. So
that was a
I think
painful experience. Yeah.
It is, yeah. So I think there is still that out there, but that doesn't mean they're not aware of what it sells for. And if it's really good stuff, I'm willing to keep my profit lower just to acquire it.
Yeah, well, I think no. I mean, that is what's happening right now on eBay is you're gonna have to lower your prices. You have to still have the killer stuff. You still have to go buy it. You might buy it for a little bit more and sell it for a little bit less. That's our environment right now. Although there's still the every once in a while little surprise units like that $15 mask into 900 was not. They still exist. It's still there.
It still exists out there. Yeah. It'll be different for everyone depending on where you are.
But you clothing sellers are no, I'm not going to say anything bad. It's a totally different trip though. I think we should just make that clear. Tech and sports.
You can do well. I mean, anything. This is the thing I love about eBay is you run into people who are experts in all these categories that I find super interesting, but I'm very weak in. So like hats, I was very good at hats, and now all of a sudden I'm not. And I think that had to do with passion. I just started hating looking for it. I hated the sweat stains in them. I hated all of it. And I like washing them.
Man, we're very similar when it comes to this. It's like, it's so petty, but it's like, I could be making millions of dollars on hats like I watch people do. And it's like, no.
James, I sold a $500 hat the other day.
You did?
It's the money's there.
Yeah.
The money's there. Yeah. It's just, I don't like it. So I can't.
Somebody's sweat stain is there too. It's just
I can't do it.
We have our limits. We all have our limits.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of limits too.
I'm the one responsible for cleaning everything.
It's true.
So.
It's true.
That's why he says he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It's just passing the job on to someone else.
I'm not doing dirty clothes or cat boxes. I got a couple of things I just can't do.
I mean, I've changed enough diapers and everything else that, it shouldn't bother me, but I just, with other people, I don't know what it is. I'm not a germaphobe, but it's not something I enjoy. So
I've never done it.
Hopefully antiques come back. Hopefully it makes a comeback. And just like all of a sudden everyone's like, look at all this crazy stuff we were missing out on for all these years.
Look at this huge European wall unit out of dark wood. I don't know if those things are actually ever going to come back, but I do think that people who have a desire to accumulate, back in the 80s, they called it, I'm trying to think of the word. I'm like, it's escaping me. The actual style was called little, it's the word that means little pieces from all over different places, and you accumulate them, and it's called, but I'm stuck on accumulate instead of
Curate?
not curate, but where you have like one piece from the Inuits, and then you have one piece from China, and then you have one piece from here, and it's called something. Anyway, it's what all the wealthy people were designing. White walls with all these different pieces from all over the world. Eclectic.
Oh.
Thank you.
There you go.
Dang.
Well, Swedish was big for a long time. I hope Swedish dies because that's bad for my business. But the very simple, like Scandinavian, nothing.
Scan stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff was popular for a while.
In your
So hopefully
honor,
that's-
this morning we have set up a small toast station because when I was young, I had a friend named Robin Parr, and he was so now. Are you Dutch or?
Yep.
So Dutch people are from Holland, but there's no.
Yes.
The Dutch land is Germany, so it's very confusing. So the Dutch people are from Holland, but the Hollands is in the Netherlands.
Yeah, so the Netherlands is like a group of like, just consider it way back in the day, like tribal provinces.
So you got
Um,
Denmark and
It was like a city, like
Swedish.
city states. Like you'd have, I don't know, like I don't even remember all the provinces, like Groningen, and that would all the Gronings people would be like, that's a group of people, and then the Frisians are a group of people, and then like the North Holland and Zeeland and all those people are they're different.
They're
And
very
the Netherlands kind of put it all together, and it's like
I
we
see.
are like the United States, but
Gotcha.
only teeny tiny in Europe and
Of
drowning
Scandinavia.
under the sea.
But they're very into toast. They're very. I mean that group up there in Northern Europe is very toast bread oriented. Denmark
We put
invented
toast on our toast.
Danish is right.
Did
So
you
anyway,
say we got Nutella?
well, that's what I'm just saying. So we
Oh.
set up
For
in
the
your
first
honor
time, I had Nutella.
a toast bar because my
Nutella?
friend back when I was in school, he was he was Dutch, and they were into toast. So they had the Nutella, they had multiple jams. The bread was like wrapped in a nice the cloth napkin. We did that in your honor today.
The ultimate Dutch breakfast is coffee, and then they take bread and they put some butter on it, and they have something called hagelslag, which is like chocolate sprinkles. And they put it on the bread, and
They
then
know
you
how to
like
do it.
press the bread together, and you. I don't know how everyone's not dead at 40 there, but
Dude, and they live forever. I guess the fish, they eat a bunch of fish to counteract the Nutella, and that way something. But anyway, we did have that for you today. In your
I
honor.
just want to
Well, I
let
appreciate
everyone
that.
know that I have been reading your comments, so I'm reading them in
We're-
my head.
I didn't read any of them.
There's so many comments.
I see.
but-
okay. So why don't I jump off, and then you guys can do the
We can do that.
comments because I got to run anyway. But I just
Thank
want to
you for
say,
joining us.
Bridget and James, thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time. I lost track of time. You guys just do a great job of like, I notice when your guests come on, you're like very interactive and you get them talking. And I just want to say that I appreciate both of you. And
Thank you,
Thank you
Josh.
so
it's
much.
very
We
kind of
appreciate
you both to bring me on. Thank you very much.
We loved having you, and we love having you in our general environment here on the YouTube
Group.
and eBay community. Yes, it's very, very wonderful thing, and it's brought us a lot of joy. So thank you.
I appreciate you both. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Same to you. Aloha,
Take care.
Josh.
Aloha, Josh.
Aloha.
Everyone else, we are still here.
We're still here. I'll make this big.
How awesome was that, having Josh here with us?
Yes. I mean, honestly feel like I've had a million conversations with him.
Yeah.
and we
I know
haven't.
what you mean. Just watching people, you feel a connection, and what do you know? This is the
So
the
we
first
actually said
time.
words.
Yeah.
But no, I've had conversation. He has answered me just through YouTube telepathy. What do I have to do? What do
the
you want me to do?
comments.
Oh, you actually want to read all these comments? There's so many though.
Well, there are a lot of comments.
Should we go all the way back to the top?
We have a half an hour. Let's try to get through some stuff here.
I don't know how. How do you do that? Okay, let's start right.
Let's say hello to some people.
Okay, let's start. Let's go quickly and say hello to. I see Carl and WTF, Bearded Picker, Josh GALT. He was in here actually, but I see him there. Jovial Juggler. I see James. Mike Seller, Bearded Picker, Paul Rose, Amy Nesbitt Experience.
And Jacqueline Rose.
Jacqueline Rose. Oh my gosh, she was at. Oh, it fell off the beginning, so I didn't get to see that.
So long.
Jacqueline Rose, thank you so much for the super chat before the show even started. She's kind of an old school person we haven't seen for a while, and we just kind of checked in with her, and apparently she's at a poker tournament or something.
I hope everything is going well at the poker tournament.
I guess it is, because she shared a little bit of her winnings with us.
Patricia,
so thanks again.
really
that.
nice to see you. I've been missing you lately.
Callie Debs. Let's see.
Paul Rose, our local
we say motorcycle dork,
vampire.
once in a blue moon, record great, craving cards, Biff Buffo.
We say Carl eBay Live.
Carl eBay Live. We have a major win member for 4 months, DEFCON 1. Appreciate me. That's
awesome. Thanks so much. You said Den Decor yet, right?
Yeah, Den Decor.
Carla, aloha.
And
aloha to Ro, if you're listening.
Yeah,
or
you're there, right?
Ro, Jet Fixer.
Jet Fixer's here. We haven't used
Bearded.
his. I love that one. Major win, $1.99. Not a rich guy, but we are somewhere.
Thank you.
Now, and when I'm saying everybody needs a rich guy, I'm talking like millions of dollars. Like the person that you can say, and the person I did say, actually, I'm like, hey, I want to start this mid-century modern store. Can I borrow a whole bunch of money to go buy stuff and rent a store? And then they give it to you. And then you go do that. Yay! For those guys.
And you acknowledged Bearded, right?
I did.
Okay.
He's making some quips. He's quipping. I did not read his actual. Okay, so here's at the top where he's saying, no, save it, dude. Because Josh was saying, I was going to save this for the weekend, but no, I'll unleash it here.
Beard was giving an update on Joni. She is almost halfway, 6 weeks, no weight bearing on the ankle. Last stitches came out on Friday. She has some pain, but it is manageable.
Did I have stitches? I didn't have.
Yeah, you had stitches.
Did they take him out? I was so high that whole time. They probably.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I was nice and high.
Yeah, they didn't
toasted.
dissolve. No.
I can't remember those. I thought they glued me together and I didn't have any stitches.
Gosh, darn it. No, I think you can see the little dolts
I'm gonna look at my
where the
ankle.
stitches were.
I mean, I do see that sort of. Yeah. Some dude had his hands in my leg. That's pretty gross.
Ooh. Could you scroll, sweets?
Yeah, I can. Well, I'm glad that Joni is recuperating, because it sucks. I'm not trying to think of what's, if you break any other piece of your body, you can still walk to the toilet. That's the problem with breaking your ankle. You can't.
I'm not sure if Biff was up there earlier, but aloha, Biff. Biff was saying, how furniture had been tanking before the pandemic. It's brutal market with terrible storage issues.
The people that we have been friends with here in Vermont did not. I was the first person doing mid-century modern. I was doing mid-century modern in Vermont. I was running around buying it all because there was a couple people, but they were like people who had real jobs, who were just into collecting mid-century. That was my competition. And at that time, I would go to all the different antique people, and I'd know them quite well. And they would get like one little mid-century, and I'd buy from them, and they'd have 10 huge, big European black, dark, what do you call this? Like a break front cabinet or whatever for the dining room and stuff. And they
jelly
just
cupboards or hutches.
Jelly cupboards still sell.
Vents.
If it's from a barn in Vermont, like some of that super primitive Vermonty stuff, I think that still sells. But all that ancient European stuff from like the 1800s, 1700s even, that got brought over here in the 60s, 70s, that I was trying to say about the eclectic style, that brought a lot of stuff over here that is no longer of any value to anybody.
Amy was saying, in That's Experiences, saying they ask for Art Deco in every show. So I guess in her Whatnot, people are always asking for Art Deco.
Now, do they know Art Deco? Was that what you're going to say?
No,
like
I
some
was
people
going to keep
call
on going to the next.
mid-century Art Deco. They don't know
I wonder.
that does happen.
You know, one of my pet peeves is when people say retro when something is really vintage, or they say it's vintage when it's actually retro, and I'm just like, well, which one?
Yeah, retro. It means that it's styled after something from before,
right.
but it's a new product or a
Styled.
new item.
And vintage is at least 20 years old. Resale Dojo, aloha.
Aloha, Resell Dojo!
Just getting to your comment. It's over an hour now. You might not be here anymore. But they were saying that trends come and go, and the hipsters drove
that's true. You
the
can't
35 millimeter camera
35
market
doesn't
for years.
sell for much now.
And now the bottom, completely dropped out.
Damn hipster.
Dan Decor was saying there's been a distinct market shift with furniture. I used to move tons of small end tables and stuff, and it's completely dried up now. I noticed that with coffee tables. Like, boy,
Those were hot for a second.
And then it just went.
You know why? Because we called them cocktail tables instead of coffee tables, and they sold like butter. Can you sell it because butter sells?
Backyard mowing, aloha.
Aloha.
I'm guessing you probably have seen some people commenting about sales. Their backyard mowing was asking how everyone's sales were. They could be better.
Bearded says we can't shut him up on the PPP podcast. Bean, 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 be quiet.
Bean, 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 bean.
What is that
bean.
for? Biff saying the best of any niche will always hold its value, right? So the tip-toppy tip goes up, and then the rest kind of.
And Carl from eBay Life was saying prices are still.
Kevin's here too. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, aloha, Kevin, if you're still here. Prices are still going up,
in England.
Yeah, so I guess he means just for everyday items. Pricing is still.
Biff gave up on furniture
inflation.
in 2018. So actually, can you pat me on the back, please? It's the back pat. I actually gave up on the furniture business at the right time. I did. It was also, you know what, Biff? You know what? 2018 is when the auction company I was working with stopped importing containers from Denmark because the prices were going up so much. When was the flood in Japan? I remember that made a big kerfuffle for us because when the tsunami happened in Japan, they had to buy a whole, like hundreds of thousands of people had to buy new furniture, and they were buying it from Denmark, and they were ruining our business. Was that when was that? Was that in 2018? Is that why I stopped? I can't remember, but we stopped right on time. I just remember unloading that last truck going, thank goodness I don't have to deal with furniture anymore because I hate unloading trucks. And then what's the next thing I did? A bunch of Vespas. Those were
I feel
heavier.
like it was soon after you closed down your store that you stopped doing furniture, buying it in bulk.
Well, yeah, because I stored it at the store, right? We did put some in. Yeah, we had storage units for a little bit after that.
Basket Noodle, I see, is in the chat. I think Basket Noodle just arrived, but I just want to say aloha.
Aloha to the beaners.
We're trying to get through the comments.
Let's stop talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Do
we say aloha to James, the great reseller life?
I see Paul Rose says, Primo, I'm the same. The amount of my collections that I'm selling that have never been read, watched, used is nuts. If I haven't had the time in the last 40 years, you're not going to have time anymore. That's sort of what our underlying factor is with all this stuff. It really, I mean, if you were to say, this is my collection, yes. All this crap was my collection. But it long ago turned to just a hoard.
And Patricia, this was when we were sort of talking about niching down.
We're only an hour behind right now. We've made progress.
Niching down.
We've made progress.
Josh possibly opening another eBay store. Patricia was saying my MCM items niched on Etsy attracts repeat buyers. And that makes sense.
And obviously that's really where we got to get to Etsy. We got to get our program right now. Sitting here trying to manage the 3 stores and adding stuff to it, I need to start doing the cross posting because that's really the next move. It's actually just the 3 stores is time consuming.
It is. And then everyone was talking about
But
the
Etsy's the place.
VHS tapes, how well they do for them. Kent was saying they do well. Of course, James is saying.
You guys, you're saying that no. Okay, so tell me, because I pass them up all the time because I don't want to get stuck. So, but I look at the Disney ones in the white clamshells. So if I get them for, like, let's say I got a box of Disney clamshells for free. Who cares how much they were? How much will I get per Disney clamshell average? Because what I'm asking is, I can't sell things for less than, I don't want to sell things for less than $15.
So if you're gonna ask questions, that means that we got to keep up to date with the.
No, you
if
keep that.
People are replying.
You do that. I don't want to keep.
So.
Okay, where's our? Why isn't the thing right here? Don't we usually have 2 whole things of chat? Okay, so now this chat's at the bottom, so we can look at it. Lag says 9 eBay stores is the perfect number of stores to have.
How
One
many?
one item per store, 9 stores.
Who is saying that?
And get the enterprise store level, $300 a month.
Okay.
Biff Boffo saying $3 per clamshell. I can't do that. I mean, but it might. I couldn't do that. I couldn't make any money doing.
Can you go back to the old chat?
I can do that. That I can do.
Okay, and then scroll down.
James needs a butt implant.
And somebody said, "Don't get the J-Lo size one though."
Deep inside. Seriously though. I guess I broke
So
it.
Den was saying, I just can't fathom how on eBay this makes sense. Etsy, absolutely. But someone on eBay who wants a VHS, I don't know. I can't see niching working. Maybe I'm wrong. And then Patricia said, Den, it might affect a buyer who looks at a seller store on eBay. Kent Daigle.
He likes horns.
Oh, yeah.
And turtles.
Scroll. Or I
Thinking
can
of the
scroll.
fine SpaghettiOs existing. So funny. Wait, sorry. Where am I? What am I doing?
Can
Here we go.
I
Here we go. We got it.
scroll on the old ones? Or
Well, I need my mouse.
okay.
How can I not have
Can
my
you-
mouse?
can we
I'm just
share
going to look
it?
for names and make sure we didn't miss anybody
Yeah.
name-wise. Because I feel like we did. There's Den Decor. Kent Daigle, we did address Kent Daigle. Tell me when to stop if you see anything.
Did we say jovial, right?
We
Yeah,
did.
Of course. Okay.
There is a mystery message. Jovial retracted a message. We'll never know.
And then James was saying that
Scary Tomato. Why do people
they're not
not like
mistakes,
Harry
they're
Tomato?
lessons. They're lessons when
Oh, yes. And I did see that Major Win likes to read books about the incredible failures. And I agree. I mean, the person who's willing to go out and fail dramatically is the person you want to watch. Now, maybe you don't want to do exactly the same thing they did. But thank goodness they went out there and fell on their face and talked about it. And thank goodness, like myself, I'm too ignorant to know I can't do something. And that's why I usually do the things that I most enjoyed in my life. Because I didn't know I couldn't.
something happened to Jovial, or I'm sorry, to Basket Noodle. It's in the more recent comments, and he had to get a tetanus shot.
Was that jumping over the fence to get your daughter's car out of the weird place?
Oh yeah, go up. I see. Can you go up? Oops.
Yeah, now we got to find out so
Oh,
it's toe.
okay. Oh
Pull a
yeah, I
nail.
managed to put a nail through my big toe at camp last weekend. Went to urgent care. They messed up. 24 hours later, I'm in the hospital with a balloon foot.
Barf.
Oh no.
That's so barfy.
Oh no. Okay.
What are you going to do?
I want to see what
They're going to have to
else.
pierce his foot.
I want to see what
They're going to have to
else.
let the moist out.
Gosh dang it.
They have to let the moist out.
No, you went too far.
It's all ruined now. I'm going back to this one. This one's not broken. So what's wrong? What's everybody think is wrong with Harry Scornado? Like what? I mean, he's just kind of a reseller lifestyle thing, or does he He doesn't tell you what to buy, does he? He just shows you. He just goes places.
Yeah, I think somebody said that he doesn't even do eBay anymore. It's just more.
It's just picking.
YouTube.
It's like a picker. Camera market is dead. Go back to clothing, the future, because everyone can't be naked. That's it. I mean, this is number one business 101 is sell something that every human needs. Toilet paper, toilet seats, clothing.
Bearded was asking, does this show guarantee
Chocolate.
a sale with a thumbs up? Yeah.
Yeah, of course it does. What are you talking about? I have special
A sale
technology
at some point.
that gleans half a John's. I put a little bug in there, and now I get half a John's likes. Remember when I did that?
Yeah.
I was working with the Israeli company, and we wrote none of that's true.
Dentacor was saying that very few full-time people are solely thrift store shoppers. I haven't set foot in any thrift store in over a year. I do all bulk buys with a few yard sales and estate sales sprinkled.
I don't think it's like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I called it the poop loop. I dropped her off at work, and I went to 5 different stores. I did that every day for a decade. The poop loop, where you buy your poop. And not to be confused with the Fruit Loop, which was a totally different area of town that had different activities happening. But the Poop Loop was, like 5 different stores. And then, of course, a couple church ones would be open on Tuesday or Wednesday. And we would look at clothing because clothing at that time, I was looking for 1960s, 70s clothing. You know, it wasn't, it's just that part's all changed now. But we don't get, first of all, most of the stuff we're just picking out of our house. And then most of the other stuff we get, we're buying from other, I wouldn't call them dealers, but other people who have accumulated giant piles of crap, which in Vermont it's a thing. So if you can find like the guys with barns that just fill them full of crap, I mean, they're pretty old right now.
So Dendacor was saying that Harry Tornado is
Tornado?
Harry Tornado, gosh darn it, is all whatnot in social media now. It makes sense with 1 million subs.
Yeah.
And Basket Noodle was saying, so what they did at urgent care was they gave him a shot but didn't send him home with antibiotics. His foot blows up. And then he was saying that the doc drew a line around the infection.
You get that? Did you get that? It's a little tricky. What's a little tricky?
On my foot with a marker. I asked her if that's where they were going to use the Sawzall. That's awful.
No, that isn't it? Isn't that where they're going to put the poker and drain your moist? Drain your moist. I'm Duke Nukem. I'm here to drain your moist.
I wonder if they could hear in the beginning the thing you played.
Oh, they couldn't?
I don't know.
Did you guys hear that thing in the beginning?
In the late 2020s.
No, it's the best thing ever. I'll play it again. And I didn't talk to Josh about it. Tell me if you can hear this.
In the late 2020s, the earth was scorched by the Temu-Genshin Wars. By the beginning of the 2030s,
They could hear it.
2 names rose
right
from
now?
the ashes of the Republic as leaders and educators in the lost art of reselling. The first was Primo Kimo, of course. The second name brings up feelings of the days of reseller glory and the hope of what it can once be again.
Beam, 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 beam.
Maybe you guys couldn't hear that. I mean,
I wonder.
So I went on to, I just got an AI voice, and it was like I ran out of credits or whatever, so it's going to give you a free one so you can try it out. So I've kept this window open for like 12 hours where I typed this in, and I made a mistake, so it said felling instead of feeling and whatever. But I thought it was the coolest thing. I could change all the different voices and different amounts of like tonality and emotion in the voice. It's amazing. You cannot tell any of these voices are fake. It's amazing. Am I right? Yes, I am. Oh my God!
Jack L1.
Jack's here. Aloha, Jack.
Asking, how's your keto diet going?
Oh my, you guys. So how long have I been plateauing, not dieting, and just like staying the same? So we made it up, so probably the beginning of spring. So I would say 2 months. I haven't lost any weight, so I haven't been doing keto. I haven't been staying on it. But we haven't gained anything. We just plateaued, and we need to start that back up. Most of it's been because we got on this. We lost all that money in May. Well, our whole business cried in May, and then I haven't been able to focus on it. I just literally we've been working really, really hard just to get our crap together and tread the water that we have been. So, but that's not a good excuse. The reason why we have extra time, the J-Lo lifestyle. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
Husty's Emporium, aloha. There were some people that were new to us.
Okay, let's find them.
That I think we're here maybe. Oh, well,
Julie Dubois.
We haven't seen you in a while. I'm not sure you're still here.
Kent Daigle's the top loader, he says there. Very good.
Oh, the Godot Project.
Godot Project is here.
There's
Aloha.
a fine line between stupid and brave, and man, do I walk that line, brother.
Yep. You know what? So you're talking about walking a fence. So you're walking up on the fence, and then on this side is stupid, on this side is brave, and every once in a while you just fall down and just hit your crotch right on the fence. That's me. Thank you. Who else we got here? There's a lot of people. I see. Kevin, we were attacking Kevin. Sorry, Kevin. We weren't attacking you. We weren't attacking you. Now, Kevin would be the example of the person that if there was an envy, if I wanted to sell, I would emulate Kevin. Absolutely. I would look at Tech and see what he's up to. But Kevin actually is doing it different than Tech. So Tech goes out there and gets bombs, right? He gets Grateful Dead t-shirts. He's in Florida, so he has access to all these awesome like rock and roll t-shirts. Kevin is going up there and doing a very fine like laser beam on athletic clothing and athletic brands that rise to the top there in Oregon, where those people that buy that kind of crap live there. So he is actually doing what I think is a very surgical. He's a surgeon of clothing.
Well, and then Major Win, Doug and Rowe, they are pretty much clothing.
They don't tell us what they do as much, though.
Well, right.
They don't reveal, so we don't know.
They haven't put anything out in a long time, but they are excellent at sourcing.
They source tons of stuff.
They have their connections. And then there was Otum. I can't.
Atuma? It's not Atuma.
Otumari. I'm awful.
Where are you?
Right where your
I'll
finger
help
is.
You. Otumiri. Otumiri.
That white
stain. Otumiri.
Laughing about that.
Yes. Then Kent qualifies it.
And then Patricia was saying that it's actually the term is sebum.
Oh, sebium. Sebium? Is it sebium?
Which is just
no, sebum.
Sweats.
It's the thing, like when any old clothes, when you open it, it has that perfumey smell, and you're like, is that that's like the breaking down of the cotton?
Or the Frito smelling little doggy feet.
It's skin smell. I don't need any skin smell. Don't give me your skin smell. Actually, we love skin smell. You love skin smell.
Major Win.
She walks around sniffing my head if it's in the sun for too long. She's just like, I'm going to sniff your head. Like
Major
a real
Win was
weirdo.
saying, as clothing sellers, we have touched so many human fluids, nothing grosses us out more.
No.
However, Ro used to work for a dermatologist, so she's good on the gross stuff.
Oh, so you're saying it's the zit cream? That's what's in the clothing? Zit, like the white stuff when you go on your nose and you go like this and all the little whites come out? Oh. The little white goo legs?
Okay, keep going.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
You mean a white head?
Yeah, but it's a black head on a white leg. Yeah, exactly.
The Godot Project definitely made money on damp pee smelling items from the bins.
If you can get over that part, you've got it made in this world of eBay. I'll tell you that. We're just sitting up here on our mouse-covered ivory tower. We sit up here. We're sitting like 6 feet high in mouse dung, but we ain't touching those clothing or shoes. I've sold a couple shoes and some clothing for money. We just don't have it. We're so out of it that we feel like we can't catch up, and everyone else is so far ahead that we'll never catch up. So that's why we haven't done it yet. Although we keep like tempting ourselves. But again, most of the stuff doesn't come from the thrift stores anyway. So unless we were Doug and Rowe, we would buy in bulk. We'd have to do something like that. Blah blah blah.
Bearded's like, I love how Primo is oblivious today. LMA.
I don't know. I'm oblivious every day. That's one of my finer qualities. I have no idea what's going on. And usually that saves me from a lot of aggravation in life.
Jovial was saying that they started my very early work life in the medical field and then came to a halt early on because I couldn't handle body fluids. Definitely didn't think that went through.
And although we would be we don't want to steal Chad the Quirky Picker's name, but Major Win is saying that if we start a podcast, it would be Quirky and Perky. Wah, wah, wah. Major Win, great guest today. Nice info. Thank you very much for the super chat. We're only a half hour behind now. We're almost there. Patricia, yes, like finding hair in your food. I'm not sure what that's referring to, but it's bad. That's one of the bad things. And in our house, every single food has hair in it. If it isn't one of our hairs, it's a dog hair. My hair is very thin, so you can always see whose hair it is. Hers is very thick, and then his are tiny, and everything has hair in it. Are you done? Am I boring you? It's 2:55.
I feel
It's okay.
car sick.
Do you feel car sick? This has just been too much.
I think it's the light and my glasses. I need new glasses.
We're just up to the talking about Netherlands. Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit.
Paul Rose was saying, I just took a swig of coffee and missed my mouth. How do you miss a target that big? I must be tired. I do stuff like that all the time. I drool too. Like I'll be like bending over, and then I'm like, what is this?
Biff, he's totally the Christmas Story.
What?
Biff heard the Christmas Story guy in that because that's what I thought too.
Oh.
So obviously A, they heard it, and B.
Oh, and Dentacor left a
In
while
the
ago.
late
Aloha,
2020s,
Den.
the earth was scorched by the Temu Genshian Wars.
The Temu and
By the
Sheehan
beginning
Wars.
of the 2030s,
Come on!
two names rose from the ashes
Two
of the
names!
Republic as leaders and educators in the lost art of reselling.
I just want to hear it one more
The
time.
first
because I have to
was
close the window
Primo
and I
Kimo,
can't
of
save it.
course.
So.
The second
And he
name
ran out
Of
of
course.
room
the
for
fellings
all
of
the
days
text.
of
Yeah, I ran.
reseller glory and the hope of what it can once be again.
Bean, 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 bean,
Come
bean,
on.
bean, bean.
Go
I'm so
back
proud of
to-
that.
Uh-huh.
You're proud of it too.
Yes.
So Yanni McYan is in the house. Our days are numbered here. Let's just be done. Why not just be done? Crotch shots are the funniest, Lag says. We're at the bottom of the thing.
Oh, cool.
Well, we kind of jumped.
Oh.
Harry Tornado is all whatnot in
I
social
already
media.
read that.
And
way
then
earlier.
Biff says that once people become more YouTube than reseller, he loses interest. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for us because we kind of suck at both. So I think we're going to be we'll be here for a while. I was listening to John. Flippin' Ain't Easy has a new members only video here. It's a bright sunlight. And he was, just sort of, I'm not going to tell you what he said, should I? Well, I can tell you one thing, that he just was sort of, I want to make sure I put out the best quality stuff that I can. And I was just thinking to myself, do we put out the best stuff we can? I think we do. We put out the best stuff we can.
We can.
And that's all that can be said about
know.
that. This is what we can do, people. And for our members, definitely a whole bunch of new member stuff's coming. We're having a couple issues basically doing it because of time and other things. But it's coming. It's coming. When, you ask? Tick-tock, Jimmy. Why don't you tell us when? Tomorrow. Tomorrow, Friday? Thursday. We're going to be here tomorrow? Members only video tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay.
Until then, everybody, thank you for joining us. And
Thanks so much to Josh Galt.
to Josh for coming
How
on
great
here.
was that? That was so nice.
Especially, we watched him for so long. It was just really nice to have him on, and so we could give each other a background.
Bearded, we need a club. Sucky YouTubers that resell. LOL. I could be a charter member.
I mean, it's not. I don't know where we're going on either one of the platforms, but we keep doing it because we paid our mortgage because we can pay our mortgage somehow. That's 3 yawns.
Sorry.
5 beans.
Bean.
6 beans. We're not going to make it.
Jacqueline Rose!
Thank you for the super chat at the beginning of the show. And thank you, everybody else, for joining us here today. And our guest, Josh Galt. But thank you all for partaking in all of our lives. We really
Thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
And enjoy being part of your community.
We appreciate all of you.
And we'll be back tomorrow with the members video. And on, I think, are we doing a video on Friday for Tiki? I don't know if we can. I don't know if we're around on Friday, so I can't promise it.
We have something coming up, so I'm not sure.
It may interfere with Friday, but otherwise we'll be back on Monday. But for sure, members only tomorrow.
Cornhusker, everyone, thank you so very much for being here. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
Here, Pokey's coming
Jacqueline
up.
Rose, I hope the tournament went well. Oh
Here's
yeah.
Pokey.
Oh wait. Here, Carla, here's your poke.
Carla needs some poke. Everybody needs a little Pokey.
Oh, don't poke. Oh, he's making.
All right, folks, here we go. One last aloha for everybody.
Aloha.
Aloha!